So on Trudeau's pipeline approval, there is this narrative coming up that it's a compromise. That it creates a social license. This is a quote here. Mr. Trudeau has appeared willing to take that risk because it could lead to a political triumph. If he can balance a pipeline with a climate deal with premiers at a meeting December 8th, and it appears a deal with all provincial premiers except Saskatchewan's Brad Wall is likely, then he can claim the broad political middle by asserting he delivered both a pipeline to Tidewater and a deal on emissions. This is stupidity. Okay? This is magical thinking. He will do neither. He will alienate both constituencies. There is no political middle. This is a fantasy. This social license to pollute. I mean, don't make me laugh. It's a fantasy created by conservatives to co-opt the left, and it's becoming entirely obvious that that's what Mr. Trudeau is. He is a conservative who is attempting to co-opt the left. The Liberals played this game in the 90s and lost. Okay? And if they play it again, they'll lose again. The lesson that they should have learned is that they cannot balance the left and right. And that they're only deluding themselves in pretending that they can. The reason is that nobody actually wants this compromise. There's no victory in getting pipelines built. While you address climate change, your climate change plan is to build pipelines? That's not something I want or something I'll celebrate. It's just feet dragging and weak tea. Now, I know it's coming, okay? I never pretended it wasn't. I knew he was going to approve the pipelines, and I knew they would need to be fought in court and on the ground. But I'm not looking forward to it. Nobody else is either. It's delusional, simply and plainly. It's stupidity. The kind of thinking that you actually would expect from somebody stupid like Donald Trump. And people are not going to fall for it. And it's not going to work. Nonsense. Okay, I'm just checking in here. It's actually 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm just in bed with the lights off. I'm not sick. I'm listening. When did we talk last? I guess it was... Yeah, yesterday afternoon we talked last. When I closed inri020. I've been up since around 6. Or might have been earlier, 5. I got a good amount of sleep last night, and I think I needed it. It's fine, I feel refreshed now. Much more awake than I have been over the last couple of days, so that's good. I need to sit down and listen to Boogeyman. I do have, it's a 15 track CD single plus 2 extra bonus tracks, so it's 17 tracks. I've got tracks 2 through 17 done. It's just track 1. And I think we already talked about this a few times. We've got, maybe we can, no, we'll wait till we close it. It's, just a sequence of, like, there's the right behind you mix, there's the other all around us mix, they're closing out on all sides mix, right? So it's Boogeymen everywhere. I'm listening in here right now, because I think, the interference is likely to be a little less. Although I've had, mixed, let us say mixed, evidence in support of that hypothesis at the moment. Also because I kind of like the idea. It's a rainy, yucky day, right? A cold, rainy, yucky day. So I think that any of us would prefer to spend cold, yucky, rainy days in bed if we could. I'm a little bit more free than most people are, due to circumstance that I've constructed for myself. So I have the freedom to spend the cold, yucky day in bed, and I'm going to. Like I said, I've been up since around 5. I've already eaten. I've had a few aborted listening sessions and far too much aimless ranting. I've already uploaded all this. I uploaded most of it last night. All of it last night. And I just need to listen to it a bunch of times, make sure I'm happy with it, and then pick a track to do the vocal part 4. So that's my it's my midday update. I have every reason to think that I'll get this done. And I think I'll expect to just jump to the record without doing a write-up. So, I mean, we'll be back for the write-ups and everything. It's just a point being, it's Monday afternoon, and I think we can be done by the time I sleep. I've been saying that for a while, but I'm pretty confident of it today. So let's get to that. Like I said, right now for the next couple hours, I'm going to be just sitting and listening. In here, I will move over into the other room in time. I'm just going to sit and listen and make sure everything's good and determine which track I want for the vocal mix to be used on. So I see the CBC has drank the Kool-Aid regarding the Donald Trump economic expansion. It made me laugh. A bunch of nonsense. No, it's Harper seems to have done a real job on the CBC. They've become the Conservative Broadcasting Corporation. This is a quote from the CBC, which is supposed to be a good news source. Trump's stated plans to cut taxes and ramp up infrastructure spending is expected to boost the U.S. economy, and the Federal Reserve is expected to boost U.S. interest rates, which could draw investors toward the U.S. greenback. This is like nonsense on so many levels, right? Cutting taxes is going to boost the economy, wrong. He's going to ramp up infrastructure spending, wrong. Increased interest rates increases the value of the dollar, wrong. It's like total right-wing junk economics. The CBC pushing right-wing junk economics. Become the Conservative Broadcasting Corporation. I think it's time the country kind of clues into this, that the CBC is a very right-wing source. I do hope that the Liberals eventually kind of crack down on it, but I mean, they couldn't do it. You can imagine the optics, right? The first thing the Liberals do is they chop off heads at the CBC. They get nailed for it. They've got to wait it out a little bit. Hopefully a lot of the people that Harper brought in are going to get the boot. Rather, I'd expect that a congressional push for austerity and entitlement clawbacks, that's what's actually going to happen. It's going to lead to a punishing recession, which will lead to a strong sell-off. Republicans are generally terrible for the American economy and usually create recessions. The combination of congressional austerity with a protectionist White House is likely going to be disastrous. I agree that they probably will hike rates, but hiking rates doesn't affect the currency. Neither does cutting rates. It's nonsense. The Canadian dollar is traded on a market. Rates are not meaningful because traders sell the currency quickly. So they buy huge volumes and then they sell it off within a few hours or even a few minutes. It's all digitized nowadays. It's computer algorithms. It's not even people making decisions. It's logic gates on a machine. So the dollar does not react to macroeconomic factors either. The value is determined solely by the perception of investors. not by causal economic laws. These variables, A implies B, charts go down. It's a bunch of fucking nonsense, okay? These predictions are consequently always worthless. And when they are right, it is by sheer chance. That said, I'd also expect that the sum effect of Trump's policies is going to push oil lower. Unless he manages to piss off OPEC or something. Which is possible. And because Canada's dollar is perceived as a petrol currency, that remains that okay, yeah. Because Canada's dollar is perceived as a petrol currency, that remains the dominant psychological factor on the value that the Canadian currency is traded at. Those commas, they can mess you up sometimes. Watch out, they're like walls. They're there and you gotta avoid walking into them. So what we're going to be looking at with the loonie is finding a middle point, okay, between a Republican recession, what is probably going to be a brutal Republican recession, which helps the loonie, and very low oil prices, which doesn't. So you're going to have, the collapsing U.S. economy pulling the loonie up, and then you're going to have collapsing oil prices, or at the least, continual low oil prices, which pulls it down. And I'm not going to guess where it balances out. That would be silly of me. And I don't think you should guess either, but I bet more on stability than instability. I've got a link here to CNBC. And it's quoting a report from Goldman Sachs. Direct quote. While we see substantial support in Congress for proposals to cut taxes and reform the tax code, our current impression is that market expectations of quick fiscal expansion may be running ahead of political and legislative realities. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's always, I guess maybe Goldman Sachs is reading my blog. So, tax cut, yeah, check. That'll happen. Infrastructure spending, no, it's not happening. The report also makes the error of assigning GDP growth to tax cuts. It's up here too. I say error because I don't believe that Goldman Sachs actually thinks that, right? They don't believe in Reaganomics. It's not. These are well-educated people. They went to the best schools. They went to all the best schools, and they know that Reaganomics is nonsense. But they push this nonsense out there because it justifies the tax cuts that they want. Expect a recession, and pretty quickly. And don't be surprised if the recession turns into a depression either. Donald Trump is going to be terrible for the economy. It's going to be a wonderful decline. Okay, so it's a little after 4 and I'm moving in here. I'm pretty sure I know which mix I'm going to use. In fact, I may use 2 of them. I'm going to do it twice, so we might end up with 2 vocal mixes here. I'm not sure yet. It's going to be the everywhere mix, and the flip of the everywhere mix is the inebriated mix. So this is the one. I don't want to bring in all the effects, but it's the one with the most echoes. And there's a more messy version with more echoes, and a less messy version with more echoes. I'm gonna try both, and I may use both. We'll see how that works. I'm also gonna try. See, well, I mean, why don't I just check and see? But I mean, there's 2. I did 2 vocal mixes for this, right? So the first vocal mix was early '98, and the second vocal mix was in 1999. The one that I used was from 1999. Now here's a twist on this. The initial vocal version, I redid the vocal version initially because it was really bad. Like brutally bad. And I think that the version I have on tape is the initial bad version, because I'm pretty sure that when I redid it the second time, I didn't record over the tape. I just recorded indirectly, right? Because I had moved to doing kind of hybrid tape computer recordings, right? So I don't think I actually recorded the second version of the tape, and that file is long gone. So I don't think there's any way to get the initial, or sorry, I don't think there's any way to get the second vocal mix out, and it's the second vocal mix that I want. I'm gonna have to check, and I should probably just check before I keep rambling, but I don't think I can salvage the first vocal mix, so I would have to redo that. But if I can, if it's the better one, I might keep it. I don't know. Let me listen and see. I surprised myself before on how good the source material was, so let's just give it a listen and find out. Well, it is as I feared, but I'm gonna give it a try anyways. I mean, let's just paste it in and see what happens. And I'm not gonna paste it in verbatim. I'm gonna verbatim paste a WAV file in verbatim. It's funny the language that comes out when you start talking about technology and ideas that have inexact replications in digital manifestations. I'm not going to paste the exact file on top. I'm going to cut it up a little bit. But let's go down that path. Before we may end up turning around and taking the other fork, but let's explore. And I see no problem with this. Some people may argue that when you take a fork in the path, you can never come back. I disagree. Right? We live in a multi-dimensional reality. There's nothing preventing you from getting up and walking back. There's nothing preventing you from admitting that you took a wrong turn, walking back to where you were, and taking the other turn in the other way. And I think that acknowledgement, that recognition, is pretty key to making a less judgmental society, a society that's more accepted of, more accepting. That's the word. I've had plenty of coffee. It's the temperature in here. A society that's more accepting of risk, right? I'm in favor of risk. It's just we need to have fallbacks, right? That's the whole point. Let's experiment, but not if you're going to try risk and you're going to end up dying, then that's not worth it. That's stupid, right? Risk is reasonable when there's a fallback plan, and a part of accepting that is realizing that failing is okay, right? So let's walk down this path, and I may end up coming back. I feel no shame in that, but let's try down. Let's try the walk down first and see where it takes us. Okay, I found what I think is an error, and it's probably why it sounds so overly compressed. So that's good. I go from it sounding kind of right, and then it gets really compressed sounding. I seem to have, if I remember correctly, I meant to put a limiter here. I even called it limiter, but somehow that ended up on the end bus instead, and that might even be if these buses are labeled, I may have it might be a save error. It's not that it doesn't sound so bad on its own. It's just in sequence it sounds ridiculous. So I'm gonna go ahead and move this back here on this version. This is probably the version I'm gonna sing over. Although I'm gonna have to listen to it a bunch more times to make sure. But that means that I've re-rendered that version. I've had to believe all three of those versions are going to need to get re-rendered. I'm gonna double. Well, I know that the last one will. I'm gonna double check the middle ones. But yeah, that's I don't know. I really I don't know what happened because the first four don't have that. Um, I do kind of vaguely remember wanting to put a limiter on that bus, but I like the idea of having. I mean, you know, and it's not there on the other. Like it's not there on 6 and 7, right? If I open up 6 and 7, if I open up 6, that plugin's not on the master, right? Which is that extra bit weird. Um, should it be on the limiter? Well, it's on that one. And then it's not on the limiter, but it's on where the limiter goes. So it's there, right? And then what's the point of limiting it twice, right? Yeah. In fact, that might have been. You know what? I think I just figured it out. Yeah. Because I built this by doing that. I probably built an extra bus and I saved it and I forgot to go fix it. I probably forgot it was there. Okay. Yeah. All of these are through at least one, right? Yeah, there's no point. Why would I limit it twice? That would be silly. Okay, so I'm gonna have to do the last one because the last one was built from this, from that anyways, and yeah, and we'll redo this. But yeah, that okay. I think that's probably what happened. I couldn't figure out why the hell. It must have been that I put it there temporarily and then I brought it back, and then because I had saved this, and then when I opened it up, I forgot it was there. That gotta be it. Okay. Either way, it's an error and it's gotta be corrected. So, let's get those out, and then, like I say, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be both of these versions are gonna be the ones with the vocals, but I'm gonna have to listen to it. And it's just I picked that up when I opened it up, and I said, no wonder it sounds weirder. Okay. Yeah. I haven't walked down the path yet. I haven't opened it up. I'm still playing with this. So we'll be walking on that path soon enough. Time is it 6:30? Yeah, I'm tired of these short days. We're gonna push ourselves today and have a nice long day. Let's have a nice long day. On second thought, I'm fading. Another short day. Let's hope this is a nap. I at least corrected that. And let's hope I get something productive done when I wake up.